Okay, we are live.
Hi, everybody. Sage and
Hey,
Bloom.
hey,
This
hey.
this is our fifth episode. I was
Yes,
looking today, so this is our fifth episode. Streaming live onto YouTube. Sage and Bloom. I'm Vanessa Stokes.
I'm Wanna keep now. I just love that you're doing both. So I'm just over here smiling like proud. I'm like,
Girl,
yes,
look,
I love
look,
that.
look. So yeah, so I'm also streaming live on Instagram right now too.
Yes.
So this is perfect because this topic and what happened in the last 24 hours is perfect. So I'm so excited to share, because we're going to be sharing a little bit of what this means to us. Our topic today, which is planting seeds of worthiness, right? Um, so yeah, like, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great, girl. Like my birthday was last week.
Okay, so how was your birthday? What'd you do?
Um, Man, you know what I did?
What'd you
I did.
do?
I did. I went out. I went out Monday night, and I went
Mhm,
out Tuesday night, which I haven't done. I haven't gone out back to back like that in a long time. I had
mhm,
a ball. I had a great time. It was so
mhm,
much fun. But I'm not the same person that I was,
mhm.
20 years ago when going out. I mean, I would go out every day after work. You know,
You
I
still the
can't
same?
do it. Like it took me out like for the rest of the week, like, and not like it was a bad thing or anything, but I just now I'm noticing how much my energy is depleted. When doing certain things that maybe previously in a previous life, it was easy to do, but yeah, it was. So Wednesday I just cooled out. Thursday was my son's birthday, so
Oh
we
wow.
celebrated his birthday, and then Friday, I just, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I just been taking it easy, because I know it's popping right,
Yeah.
like the spring is springing, and like people are starting to go outside. I went for a couple of walks last week, which was cool, so I'm getting out more.
I love that.
However, you know what I mean? So it was good. It was good. It was good. It was a good time. I had a great time. And yeah, so I had a great uh, birthday week. It was it was relaxing. And since we're planting seeds of worthiness, right? And talking about the spring and everything, it's like perfect. Like it was a rare week for me not
Yeah,
to work. Like not have to do something.
I
You
love that.
know, I didn't have to do anything. I was just like, yeah, I could. Like, I had a meeting, totally forgot about it, right? And it was an important meeting too, and I totally spaced it out, right? And I just realized at that point, I was like, you know what? You need to cancel all the rest of whatever the hell you got going on this week.
And just let it be.
Just cancel it.
I love that.
And she was cool. Like she was like, no worries. I'm gonna reschedule with her. But I just, and this is so perfect that we're talking about this because what our conversation today is about. So important. And what I just experienced last week. So yeah, it was great. I had a great, relaxing week. I'm looking forward to like continuing to, build here. So that was the other thing. Like I had really a lot of time to think about my next steps. You know,
I love
like
that.
how I'm going to step into this new world that we're living in right now, right? Because it
Mhm,
is a new world. So how am I going to take advantage of it? As an
mhm,
entrepreneur,
mhm.
and then I'm just excited. It's really excited to be sharing with y'all, to continue to have these conversations with you. especially wanted to, talk about, where you are today because you're not in your usual space. So
I know. I got my name tag on. I'm like, cracking me up.
yeah, but this is an important conversation that we have every Monday, and so thank you for, even though you have something else going on today, that you made time to be here. That shows how much
It's important.
it's how important it is and how impactful it is to have these kinds of conversations. So yeah, I had a great week. 52. I'm 52 years old.
That's 52. What does that feel?
I feel the same.
Yep.
I don't feel any different. Like I don't, I've gained a few pounds, you know what I mean? But it's all in the right places. I'm not tripping on it. I'm like, hey, okay.
I love
Something
that.
when I'm ready to work out, I'll be ready. I'll be working out soon. But so I have something to I have a goal. That's how I look at it. I was like, I got a little goal. I can shed a few pounds here and there. Or not. I'm okay with it. So yeah, I'm just being good with, gaining a few pounds, being okay with a few pounds, being okay with who I am, doing these types of things, the things that I really like to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. 52 is wonderful.
I love that.
Yeah. It was great. It was great. So yeah, so tell me about your week, where you are, and then we can get into it.
Yeah, no, this week has been amazing for me. I don't know. I think week over week has just been a lot of like confirmation. That's why I'm like, when you do this, like planting seeds of worthiness, like this is a great topic to discuss today. So where I am now, I'm at Christian College. They had a brunch for or in change makers in the city around Chicago. Potential partners look to build with how they can continue pushing, your new narrative and what they're trying to do. And so it was good. The morning of I had to be here at 9 a.m. So it really was a morning of really intentional networking and just building for real. It was an intimate. I want to say maybe I don't know, maybe like 20, 25 people. So it was so I'm still here on campus, and so it's been good. I'm not good at explaining things like this. I'm like it was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoy being invited into the space. For me, I think I said that too while I was there at my table. I'm just like it's just a reflection of where I am. And it's showing me like the work is really working. It was really interesting because a lot of people are like, "Where have I seen this city before?" I've seen it like this event and or this. I love hearing your name, and that for me is I've been getting that not just in space but lately. And I'm just like the work is working. You know what I mean? It's really working, and I'm just like taking it in and appreciating it. Yeah, just appreciating it. But I also am just seeing myself so differently now. So I'm also like, right, that makes sense. It makes sense. So as much as I am like grateful and all of those things, I also know that that makes sense. So that's a good feeling.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Like you said something that I want to ask a question about.
Okay.
Because you just said that you're not used to explaining yourself. What do you mean by that? Do you mean like just sharing kind of what you're experiencing? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of the work that I do does require me to capture other people's stories. And so maybe because so much of my intention or attention is like on other people and what they have going on and them telling their stories and them crafting their stories. But I don't really think, well, I haven't. And these moments are making me realize that I haven't really put a whole lot of energy into my own. So now when people are asking me, like, what do you do? Or, where are you what's going on? I really don't know what to say or where to start and how to say it in a short enough time. And so, this is a good thing for me to see though. So now I'm just in the practice of just talking about more, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, I think it's great to notice that that's something that's showing up for you in those spaces, right? You're noticing the importance for you to really take the time to craft that because I think it's an important part of how you identify yourself,
Mm-hmm.
as one that brings value, especially, right? Because you're being invited into these spaces. So I think it's important to notice those things. So it's great that you're noticing it. I just wanted to highlight it
Yeah.
because you kind of skated over it a little bit, which is good. But I was like, okay, that's my question. Thank you.
I
But
did.
that's an important part. I think it's not easy to share in these spaces, right, with people because what we're saying is it's okay to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to say, I just noticed this thing, and I noticed that I'm not used to it, but I know it's important. Like like all of those things. Like a lot of times, most people just step over that, right? They
Mm-hmm.
don't really take the time to sit with it for a moment to notice, like, oh, okay, so I want to be effective, right? I want people to see me and see that I have value. That's something that maybe I should take a little time and
Mm-hmm.
see see how I can craft that narrative for myself. But that's great. I just want, I just,
No, you're right because it also made me realize how little effort I had been putting into myself because all of my
yeah,
efforts elevate greatness. And so to the point where last year, that's where we are. Between this, mostly most Chicago kids and elevate greatness, I wasn't really developing one. And so
that's
this
great.
brought to me. So I'm excited to,
That's great.
be challenged to, figure out who I am in a way, not figure out who I am, but figure out a way to craft it, for others to
Yeah.
digest. I also realize I do a lot of different things. And so it makes it really hard to really put me in a box, myself in a box, and figure out the best things to pull, depending on the situation. I don't know.
Yeah,
Figure
yeah. I mean, I think you're working it. Like and don't and like it'll come to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It'll come and you'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's what I do." You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or that's what I do. Or it's a little bit of this and a whole lot more of that or whatever it is.
Yep.
But you'll find the wording to share who you are and then then you could get down to more details if people have questions but yeah, I mean, I think it's great that um, you're noticing the importance of
So,
how you're being seen. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And it's so important. Like not even on social media so much, but just in general, right? Like you want to make. I mean, I know I want to make sure that I'm I'm coherent. Who the hell I am?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know it's a lot of people. They just be out here like all willy nilly, and I'm just like, whoa, like I think, and that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I just want to have a little bit more definition
Mm-hmm.
in how I'm portraying myself.
Yep.
So yeah, just focusing in more on what that is. I think it's an important part. But yes, that's so great that you're putting yourself in uncomfortable spaces, which I'm sure you're used to, right?
Right. So it's like, okay, well, all it does now is just pinpoints things faster that I get to choose
Right.
on, like which one is most important. So building my narrative is definitely the one that's most important right now.
That's so great. That's so great. So let's jump into this topic.
Let's do it.
So um so I'm just gonna just gonna read a little bit of what I sent you
Okay.
last night. But so today's topic is planting seeds of worthiness, reclaiming joy, abundance, and rest.
I love this,
So
by
I
the way.
know, right? Like when I read it, I was like, that's it.
This is what it's about.
So there's a lot that's happening right now. We're in April, right? We just had the Libra full moon, right? for those of you who are into astrology, so this recent Libra full moon, which is the Saturday, it closed out a 2 year eclipse cycle.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm not so much. I mean, I watch astrology videos and I read about it a little bit, but I'm not an expert. I wouldn't consider myself an expert. So if those of you out there know more a little bit about astrology, want to like share a little bit more about what that is, that'd be great. Um, but I know that what this is. So it does close out a cycle, right? And it's also this is the juicy part is it's an invitation for all of us, especially Black women, and we always highlight that because this is a conversation of Black women having a conversation. So we're always highlighting this is for everybody, but just to highlight that, to pause and affirm our inherent value, shift from survival mode, and embrace a life of intentional joy.
Hmm.
So that, I mean, I think that's essentially what we're doing, right? Like us being inside of the work that we really want to create for the world, putting ourselves out here and having these conversations and having conversations that uncover, right? Like conversations that really like leave you asking yourself questions. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that's kind of the like how we live. I know that's how I live. I'm always asking myself questions, and then in turn asking other people questions. Sometimes those questions aren't received. Sometimes people don't like being asked questions, but that's okay. Um, because I mean that's fine. It's not really for you to like or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important to have conversations that dig deeper, that also um, like require a sense of self and curiosity. Something that we always talk about all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So in this space of joy, like creating joy, you know, really pulling ourselves back. This whole last week was like, and this is the coolest thing is my birthday week.
I
You know, I
love.
just I was just like, I felt like $1 million. I really did. Like I really did. I felt like $1 million all last week because I literally did whatever the hell I wanted
We
to do.
wanted to do. Yes.
Yes. And I have to say that it was so freeing. I was like, what can I do now? Oh, my son was like, can we get pizza? And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, like let's go get pizza. We went and got pizza, and I was like, order whatever you want, right? And he was like, what? I was like, get what you want. Can we get two appetizers? I was like, yeah, I don't care. Like, get
Whatever.
it, like it. But it was like it was so freeing to be able to say to myself, oh, I can choose what I want to do. That felt very freeing. But then I took a lot of time, like a lot of time for myself. Like so much so, I was kind of like, there were moments where I was like, I should be doing something.
Mm.
Like I should be doing something. And I had to stop myself and be like, no, girl,
I'm not
you are doing, you are doing something. You are. You know what you're doing? You're resting.
mm. And that's something.
I mean, it's huge to rest. I know people who don't. I know people who, I mean, and including myself, there are many, 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 many years of where I worked. I remember one time I had three jobs at one
I
point.
did too. Or was it
And
three?
I had three jobs. I was really young. And I was like, I'm going to do all of it. You know what I mean? Bartending, working during the day. I was doing all kinds of shit. Like, and it wasn't like I needed the money. It wasn't like I didn't need the money. It was, it was just me, and I made enough for me to live, and I was good. But and I had a lot left over, but I didn't need to work
That
three
much.
jobs. Then I had a life. It wasn't just the jobs, and I had a life outside the jobs. I had friends, and this and that and the other. So I had, I was doing a lot, you know, and it just kind of morphed its way into other things as I got older, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but I've always had a lot of things going on. And
Mhm.
so in the last couple of years, I just been like, I gotta find a way where I don't do so much. Like, why do I gotta do it?
Yeah.
And I even I have a reputation, at least that's what some people say, of being all over the place, right? At least that's what some people say. I don't
Mhm.
consider myself all over the place,
Mhm.
but you know, I think people have limited mindsets when it comes to certain things,
Mhm.
and so that when they see me in every room, and they're like, "How the hell are you here too?"
What do you do? Mhm.
You're like, "How'd you get in that room?
Mhm.
And you in this room, and then you in that room, and then you in this room? How'd you
Mhm.
do that?" I think if people just get a little, a little envious of it, a little. So
Mhm.
so I got that later on. So I was like, I don't feel like I'm all over the place. I do feel like I need to sit down. You know what I mean?
So
Like,
this is your version of planting seeds of worthiness, a break.
yeah, just I wouldn't even say it as a break. I would say it's a structure to to have this way of life
Mhm.
be the way
Mhm.
instead of it being like instead of forcing because working a lot is like a force, like I'm forcing something, you
Mhm.
know, like I'm I'm trying to do something to create something. Maybe I don't really want to do it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like,
Mhm.
and so like what I've been doing is doing the things that really are I'm aligned to that I have a high energy when I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like they're exciting. I get excited. I even get excited about the parts that I don't want to do.
Mhm.
Because there are parts that I don't want to do, but I'm just like, well, screw it. If I get to do this thing, I'll just do it.
I'll just do it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like a big deal, but those other things that I procrastinate around, you know, it takes forever for me to get done. Like, and it's like, well, wait, maybe it's not for me.
Mm.
Maybe it's not for me. Instead of me saying that I have to force my way into that space, right? Like, I always think procrastination is a sign that maybe that's not for me, rather than it being like I should be doing it, right?
Mm.
Or I got to do it
Mm.
because it's part of it. And I'm just like, no, because that other stuff I don't really like to do, but I do it anyway, and I do it with a smile because it's part of the other thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll just do like project management, girl, get that.
You say absolutely.
I'm done with that. Done. I'm gonna hire people. I'm not doing project management.
You
But
said
go ahead, go ahead. What about you?
no way.
Oh man, project management. No.
Hold on, let me see. I'm looking at the overview.
Yeah. Well, here's a question.
Hmm.
Here's a question for you. So here's a question on it. So it says here like here's one. Okay. So what does planting seeds look like in everyday life? What are you saying yes to now that affirms your value?
You know, what do I say yes to now that affirms my value? You know, honestly, I think for me that question is more so like, what have I been saying no to lately, or willing to say no to that term. So I'll give you an example. I have a contract that I was working on, and initially when we had the conversation, it was about it was a certain number, and the conversation was in person, and the time frame and commitment was a certain thing. So that's what I wrote the proposal around. That's what I said yes to because I agreed to it. And then when it came down to it, um, the write up in the email was a lot different. And so what happened, it was about $3,000. And so what I was prepared to do was to say no away, even though definitely could use the contract, can always use another contract if you want to watch it. But also just knowing who I am today, I literally looked at it and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this. Not for that. So then I just sent a follow-up email. But in my mind, my mind was made up. It was either going to be the terms that we discussed or I was gonna walk away from it. And it ended up working out, in my favor. And we ended up coming back to those original terms. But it was what I was trying to walk away from. That literally made me feel so good. I was talking to Barry and today about it. Tell him I'm like, but this is just practice because there are going to be other things that I'm gonna have to say no to based on what I know I'm and if I start off saying the things that I know a little shaky, then I know it's gonna be a shaky process all the way through. That's what my experience has taught me. Like once I catch the first red flag and I ignore it, they don't stop. And so I was prepared for that, and that made me feel good. And for me, that was me like exercising my no or being prepared to do that. So also, that's just how I plan to succeed of worthiness. Man, it was powerful. Now I was a little mixed of the back and forth, but I was just like, I'm going to ground this conversation in the original conversation. So I'm not making you know what I mean? Like we really don't have to too much to discuss other than you can honor it or not. And they chose to honor it. I love that. And I love that for me. And I love the practice to get. So that was how.
That's dope. I'm sorry, I'm just switching some stuff around.
Oh, it's cool.
Um, so you said something that I wanted to highlight because I think it's an important part of how um, like in your process, like how you that girl just went in and out like it just left. That's what happened. Hey, it'll come back to me.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. So what about the second question, which was um what are you saying yes to now? Oh, that was the question. Okay, here we go. I got it now. So by you saying no allows you to say yes to something else, right? Because saying no is saying yes to something else.
Myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what I heard is when you saw that your value, right? So you said yes to your value, which sometimes means you got to say no to that thing that you think that might bring you something in your mind, right? Like we have all these stories. I would do the same thing. Like I would do the same thing where I would in me deciding or choosing myself and choosing my value. There's a conversation that you have to have with yourself, right? And saying to yourself like, hey, you said that you were gonna do that. Now here it is.
The literal
So
consequence.
that's like
Yep.
that's integrity. That's integrity with you, you know. So you're like fortifying yourself. You're building that muscle, that courage, to say yes to me,
Mm-hmm.
which means I gotta say no to that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And by saying no, they might have came back and been like, well, you know what? Well, I guess we're just gonna have to find somebody else for this contract or whatever. You know what I mean? But that also will open, and this is the sweet part is that, and this is the part that a lot of people like. I don't know. They step. They don't want to because it's so uncertain. Because it
Yep.
leaves you empty, right?
Yep.
It leaves you empty because now you're like, fuck. Now I gotta get a contract. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, or whatever I gotta get it. So, so a lot of people, if you're not firm or confident inside of your value, what you're bringing, you know, that could be a really hard task to do. But like you said, like when you're talking to Barrett, like it's a muscle that you're continuing to work, you know. But that was such a great story because that does show in you saying no what you're saying yes to.
Yeah, that's good. I'm happy you brought that back and reframed that for me. Yeah, that's it. And then it's like I'm thinking about it long term. Like there are going to be 7-figure contracts. I'm going to have to walk. I know it. You know what I mean? Because it might require me to devalue myself, or So it's like, how do you walk away from a 7-figure contract? Well, you gotta have walked away from a 6-figure one, and maybe a 5-figure. Well, so I'm building the muscle, and I'm building that top. What's gonna happen again? And I'm very grateful to know that when it happens, if it happens, who knows, that I can do it. I can do the right thing. I can have this to right. So
Yeah, and it's being your word. I mean, I want to highlight that, like being your word to yourself first.
yes.
Because what you said was like you said that you weren't going to do that. You said it. You said I'm not doing that. And if they come back like this, I'm not going to do it. And they came back like that, and I'm not going to do that. I mean, but, but notice areas of your life where you said that to yourself, and it didn't necessarily have to be in a work type of situation, but maybe in a relationship situation, right? Because that's the first thing that popped into my head when I thought, I said I wouldn't go there again, but
Hmm.
then that situation came up again, you know, and it was so easy for me to be like, oh man, okay, I'll go back there again. You know what I mean? But but it's the same thing in a way,
Same
right?
concept. It's
Same
exactly the
concept.
same
It's
concept.
like when you tell yourself, you're gonna do something and you don't do that thing. What's the impact?
Mm.
What's the impact on you when you don't do it?
Yeah, what is it really costing you every time?
Right.
Every time. And I mean, honestly, for anybody who may come across this in logic, I really do encourage people to exercise that no a little bit more and to really mean it. And when you say no to things, you choose certain things, sometimes it means you might not get what you thought you were gonna get in the moment or what you feel like you need in the moment.
Right.
Um, but I do believe that it always comes back bigger, and that's from that experience. Like I had already reconciled in my mind, like it already opened my mind to a whole other shit that I wasn't even thinking about. So I've already been working on it anyway. So
Well,
now,
that's it.
yeah. So it was like either way this goes, this has been a win for me. So I'm not going to paint it
Right.
by saying yes to things that I know is not a win for me. In this.
Well, I think that that's it right there. Like I think that for a lot of us, that uncertainty, is what keeps us from
Moving.
it
Mm.
keeps us from moving. It keeps us moving forward in a steadfast way. You know what I mean? With velocity. Like I think and it definitely for myself, I know that, and I've noticed, when I'm being pulled, I've been pulled in this direction for like sharing myself online. I've been, like I told you before, I've been wanting to do this for like a very long
Mm-hmm.
time, and I'm using this as the analogy because I think it's important. One, that there's this thing in you that that is you can call it faith, intuition, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? But every human being has it. And when
Mm-hmm.
you're aligned and when you're in your space and you're doing the thing that you're here to do, you know it.
Mm-hmm.
You feel it, and so like, but at the same time, like there's, like your body, your brain, and you talk about this a little bit, I'm sure, in your ebook, right? You talk about like the fight and flight,
Mm-hmm.
like how our brains, you know, automatically try to protect us, right? And keep
Yep.
us away from those spaces. It's it's so important to notice, like, when those things are happening, they're happening as indicators for where you need to go. Like
Yep.
I just, it's like, and so in the last year, and this is the thing that I want, the planting seeds part. So this is the part that I wanted to share with you. It's so perfect.
I
And
love
we're
this.
talking about this. It's so perfect.
Okay.
So like, like I said, I've been wanting to do like, like these types of like video blogs or whatever you want to call them. Like I've been wanting to do like podcasts and conversations. I've tried it over the years so many times. So many people, it just never got off the ground, and I just got pulled in the other directions and whatever. So I have this time, I do it now, right? But over the last year, like this came to me last year, and over the last year, I've been collecting things and buying things to get me ready. And and not even like consciously doing it. Like, oh, that's really cool. I bought this, I bought that, I bought this, I bought that, I bought all these little things, all these little parts, right? And I'm working on this conversation around um, art collecting,
Mm-hmm.
especially Black people collecting art. I know some art collectors, and they collect certain things as Black memorabilia. It's beautiful stuff, right? So there's this woman who makes cookie jars. She makes mammy cookie jars, but she makes cookie jars that are around her family, and and she kind of like honors them, right, by creating these little statues that she has in her house of her family members, right? It comes with a little card with who that family member is. She's really dope, but she's also a collector. She's 80 years old. She's in her 80s, and she's got a dope story. She's like the only Black woman that's ever done this. I think if she's not the only one, she's one of very few, right? But she's like 80 years old. And so I want to talk to her, right? Because she's a collector. And so I've been thinking about doing this for a long time. And I finally said to my co producer friend, Rosie, we were talking about it. And I was like, girl, we should just drive down there. She's in Oklahoma. It probably going to take us, what, 5, 6 hours to drive down there? Can we just go
Mm-hmm.
down there and record her? And she was like, yeah. And so this morning, I'm getting ready for the show, right? Getting ready for Sage and Bloom. And I've been doing more live videos. And it just came to me. So I was just sitting here and I'm just like, you know what? I can actually do this, right? And I'm pitching. I'm about to send a pitch for like an interview talk show type of thing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
about to pitch it. I was told that I should pitch this organization. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I'm about to write something up. And it came to me. It was like, so I gathered all the little parts, all the little seeds
Mm-hmm.
that I planted. And all the equipment I have. I have everything.
So literally, all it's doing is waiting on you to put it to use.
I got everything. Everything. I have three tripods, so I can use my tab.
Multiple views.
I got my phone right here. I got my tablet here. I can use another phone, right? Because I got another tripod. I got a light. I got microphones. I got everything.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that funny? It's like I've been planting the seeds. So, I'm saying this because a lot of times we're planting the seeds as we're going through life.
We don't even realize.
We don't realize that we're planting seeds, right? But we're all doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We're all and it might not be seeds that you want to plant. And that's the other part. Is like, are you planting the right seeds?
Intentional with planting.
Right. Are you planting seeds that were actually here for you to grow,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or are you planting seeds for you to toil over that aren't really giving you the kind of growth that you're looking for? You know, are you over here planting something that is just taking up your time, not the seeds or growing or planting for those things that are actually for you? You know, like you said, are you being intentional?
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good actually. And it makes me think when you mentioned like we're always see, so it makes sense again as I'm walking into these spaces and people are like, I've been hearing your thing, or I've seen this somewhere. Like, I know it's not just happening all at once, for nothing. It's the seeds that have been planted over the course of these last 7 years. Honestly, it's been 7 years, and it's just of that planting those seeds, meeting people, building with people, intentionally connecting with people. I don't necessarily use networking like people network. Like I really meet people. I meet them. We figure out how to do. We go into action, and so over the years, that's just accumulated. So now, even when you come into the room, it's multiple people that I'm just like, oh yeah, like, we did this like 5 years ago. We did this, or we did this. But back to your point of just planting the seeds, these were all seeds that were planted, and I didn't realize that's what I was doing at the time. But now I know, and now it's like, oh, and it's not even anything to be more intentional about. It's like, well, just keep doing what you've been doing because these have been good things,
Yeah,
and the fruits are here. I love that.
that's so dope.
Yeah, I
That's so
love.
dope. Like, I really am seeing like the seeds that I same thing,
Yep.
same thing. Like going into spaces, people are like, "Hey, I heard your name before," blah blah blah, whatever that is, and those are all the seeds that are being planted, right? Like all of the work that's being done, all of the toiling, right? the all of the tending to, it brings about fruitfulness and it brings about, you know, you know, the parts that we're creating, those projects and initiatives and whatnot and connections, right?
Yeah.
So there's this question on here that when I read it initially, I was like, wow, whew, this
Yep.
is this is intense, right? So
Okay.
here's a question. So when we're talking about planting seeds, or we're talking in a spiritual sense, right? And and I think especially going from practical and kind of this earthly sense of planting seeds, right, and seeing the actual fruition of what we do after time. But then there's this other kind of spiritual kind of aspect to planting seeds of worthiness, right? And and what it says here is pretty dope. So it says here that worthiness isn't earned, it's remembered, right? And it also says here, like, to share somewhat the soul's journey to returning back to self, right? Because essentially, going back to, just the idea that I have everything,
Yeah.
right? Everything I need is right here. Like I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to do anything.
Yep.
Like I bought another piece of equipment because it was $50, and I was like, oh, $50. And I really don't. I mean, I don't quote unquote need it. Like, it might make my life a little bit easier, but I did it anyway because I was like, okay, I might as well. But essentially, even that, I had $50 to buy the thing, so I could get it. So
Hmm.
that's a practical sense, but also in the other kind of ethereal, kind of spiritual sense, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's not about it being earned. It's about us, getting right back to who we are,
Who
right?
you are. Yeah.
So what is that like for you?
First of all, I love the spiritual aspect. When you bring up spirituality in this case, and one of the very first things that comes to my mind is because I was, Christian. But a lot of the things that I would hear people say is like, I'm not worthy, like I'm not deserving, I'm not worthy of God's like that thing. And I'm just like, man, why would you tell yourself that constantly over and over and over again? How does that impact how you see yourself at all? Overall. So it's like, so when I think about that, when we also that worthiness is something that you remember, and I agree with that 100%. It's like, man, what are we telling ourselves, our spiritual practices or whatever the case may be. But I do believe that it's remembered because literally, even even like with the example I gave with the contract, this is I've always been this way. Now maybe I deviated from that before because maybe I needed contracts, and so I needed to be in. I needed to, you know, concede. But then it was like that reminded me, like, no, bro, you never needed to do it because you've never done this. Like you before this 7 years, like who you were before this, even before you the kid. I'm thinking about things, just younger and just always knowing that I was worthy younger, and then remembering that now also makes you think, like, dang, how could I ever have forgotten it? Or, at what point did I forget it? Um, but yeah, I do think that is remembered. I think that's all it is, because we're birthed into this world worthy. And you think about it, you're pouring into your baby and you're loving on them, giving them everything that they deserve because worthy of that. And then yeah, we grow up and tainted our life. Forget
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And so we
yeah,
find
no,
ourselves then trying to earn it because
right.
we always had it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, this is to me, this is like the best part of like reconnecting to oneself
Yes. It's the remember.
because
Sure.
be, yeah, because then it's like life is really meant to be easy, right? Like, like what we all really like is now like peace, like peace. What you get when you have peace of mind is unbelievable.
Hmm.
Like it's like for the last, like I would say for the last 3 years, times like most of the time, like 90% of the time, it has been the most peaceful experience. Just being able to just be, you
Mm.
know. And I think for so many of us, like, and part of it is this conditioning that we live in. We live in this world, this society. We're conditioned to adhere to this kind of way of living, this way of life, which requires so much of our energy and time that we forget that we are worthy and that we are here for a reason, right? Like
Mhm.
there's a reason why we're here at this particular time. This is
Mhm.
a special time because this is a transitionary time that we're going in like the things that are happening in the world, the way that our weather patterns are happening, all of the things. Like this is a very special time. Everybody says it, right? The fact that I'm seeing more and more like the government is recognizing that there are extraterrestrial UFO folks like flying around in the air. You know what I mean? Like that's never happened before. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that's happening right now. AI, the thing that most, some of the most popular movies that talk about AI and how AI is going to
Mhm.
come and eat us up and all the rest of the stuff.
Mhm.
It got everybody scared to use it, right?
Mhm.
And so it's a very special time that we're in. And I think for us to be here right now, it goes back to what you said about, like just reconnecting to who we are and remembering that we're all, we're worthy. Um, and I think at the core of who we are, like, I think that that's part of what we're here to accomplish is
Mhm.
to, is to really get that, is to step into our greatness and be great. I just don't think everybody's on the same timeline, you
Mhm.
know.
That
Everybody, yeah, people are on different timelines, and they're here to do whatever it is that they're here to do. But for those of us who are here and having these conversations, I think there's something to be said about being attracted to conversations that reveal, uncover, and and unleash us into the world, right?
yeah.
So yeah, so like, so yeah, like when I saw that question,
You said something good though. You said about the conditioning because that hit on something I'm thinking about today. Because I was watching, I study different people. I like to study CEOs and business people, and specifically CEOs who have scaled their business to $1 billion or multi-millions. And so one CEO, first of all, she's super dope. Her name is Fawn Weaver, and she was talking about her husband. Um, and she has scaled Uncle Nearest her $1 billion value in Black woman. And so she was talking about her husband, and I was watching her and her husband, and my first thought was, could they really be that happy? Like, could it be? I mean, it really, and it hit me because it's like, why would I think that it's impossible for people to be in love, to be successful, be happy, and for it to be in the end, like that. It goes back to conditioning and how we just everything for what we've been exposed to. So for me, I can only speak for myself, like conditioned to believe that there has to be something to it, that nobody's just happy, or he's doing something, or she's doing something, or he's doing something. And I'm just like, wow, and that goes back to worthiness. Like, but don't do I not believe that I deserve for real to have like real love? And I'm not saying healthy love. I don't know that I mirror myself to relationships, but I'm saying in general to have a relationship that, or to be in business or to do anything that's aligned and it stays aligned. Like, and that doesn't say that's there isn't turbulence in a way, but you figure it out and you stay on your path. And I'm like, man, that has everything to do with conditioning. You know what I mean? Like, one, it starts with believing that you're worthy of it. If you don't even believe that you're worthy of it, step would be to go out and create it for yourself or to, achieve it. But a lot of it, this is why this conversation is so important because we can't even, a lot of us don't believe our worthiness, things that we should be going after or could be going after. We don't believe that it's for real.
yeah, you are so right. I mean, the conditioning part is
It's major.
it is it is. I mean, if you look at how like it like how many human beings are impacted by conditioning is is astronomical. Like there's so many people that are so plugged in to this, false narrative, this lie that we live, right? That they don't even know that they're in it.
That's what I was about to say. I'm like, what makes it so powerful is
They don't
that
even know.
it's conditioning.
Yeah. And then here's the thing, it's like I don't think it's meant for everybody to get, right?
Hmm.
Like and and I think that's the hardest part for most of us to see because we see it and we see the difference between being conditioned and then not being conditioned. That it's kind of like I think for a long time myself, I'd be like, oh, it's so sad or whatever. But I don't really. It's kind of like ignorance is bliss, right? Like you don't know, and like I don't think it's meant for everybody to know and to
Hmm.
get right at this time,
Yeah, that makes sense.
right? Like I think in different in different lifetimes and different timelines for that particular soul person, energy, whatever you want to call it, that they will eventually get there in time, right?
Mhm.
But I think for this time, for those of us that's tugging on us, right? Like it's like telling you, like we can't deny it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the
Like
ignorant veil is you're not
yeah,
realizing it serves as protection until it's not there anymore. You just
yeah.
exposed. Yeah.
And that's what I mean. It's like the conversation we have are for people who who are already in this conversation, right? Like, or
Those-
already asking questions about it and doing research around it and those things, right? Like, because one of the things that I've noticed is like you can't convince anybody. You
Yeah.
can't convince people of anything, and I'm not here to convince anybody of anything, right? Like, I'm just speaking the truth that I get
Mhm.
through through the vessel that I am,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm just downloading what comes to me. And
Mm.
everybody has the ability to do that, but not everybody's tapped into it.
Mm.
That's it. Ain't nothing wrong with it,
I know.
So so I appreciate people on any kind of space and where they are, right? Because they come to me in my life to continue to reflect me,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
it's for me to see my impact and who I am with the people around me, right?
And I think you have been the person that made me realize that maybe earlier as we started building our like that whole reflection piece of the people who come into your life. Since you've done that, it's been a game changer for me because it's almost like a shift to you. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, I get to think faster and clearer and quickly. If I can just get past the trying to tell you what I think you should do, like that's really hard. Like, you know what I mean? So I can see you and be at peace with where you are because I know for a fact what I'm seeing, there's work to be done. And if you don't want to do yours, that's great. But I have work to do too because you're showing it to me. Or maybe you're showing me that good stuff about me. So maybe you're showing me what is working. You know what I mean? So I've had to learn that me seeing somebody doesn't mean I have a job to do with this person. It just, it's for me.
that's,
It doesn't mean I have
that's such a great point.
to.
It is because, like, I think naturally we want to help people, right?
Yeah.
It's such a natural, especially
Yes.
women. Like, I think
Yes.
naturally we see something in people that we want to like help highlight or boost or whatever the hell, like we want to help people, right? And but here's the thing, it's like the only time we're here to help people is when people ask for help, right?
When you're open to it.
Everyone else,
Yeah.
if we see that they have something there in them, that's a reflection,
Yep.
like that's a reflection. And there's nothing to do with those people. You have to like internally, and this is something that I had, over time had to realize, like there's certain things that happen around certain people or certain types of people that I don't really like how I feel,
Mm.
right? And so, once I started to realize, like, is that, what is that indicator of? Like, what is that? Like, I started to ask questions about myself. Um, And then I started to realize that I don't have to be around those people, right? Like I don't have to. Like I'll give you an example. Like I love my mother. God rest her soul. Like she passed away a few years ago. And, you know, she was cluttered. She had a
Mhm.
lot of clutter. And I would go in her house and I could not be there for
Couldn't do
more
it.
than 15 minutes. Like I just couldn't do it. Like and the clutter didn't bother her. It didn't bother her. Clutter didn't bother her.
It was
I wasn't trying to go over there and clean her house, and I wasn't trying to do all of that. Like that's my standard of living.
her. Mm-hmm.
That's how I want to live.
Mm.
Not how she wants to live. She likes all of that. Okay, great.
Mhm.
But I had to realize that to myself. I had to say to myself, okay, Vanessa, you have to make you have to make a decision here. Like, how do you want to have a relationship with your mom? You know, So I
That's
would
good.
go, I would go over there, but I could be there for maybe like 30 minutes, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I just couldn't, like, my skin would start crawling
Mm-hmm.
because I would want to clean up.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't my job to clean your
It's
house.
my word.
That ain't for me. I'm not doing that. So I could be there for about 30 minutes, sometimes less. Um, but then we would do things together. Like, I'd take her out to eat, we go shopping,
That was the
you know.
alternative. Yeah.
So I had to find other ways to have a
Yep.
relationship with her. But yeah, man, like we get so hell bent on on putting conditions on our love for people. You know.
I and when you say that, I love it for real because the question that you asked, to your point, like people are like you're either going to fit in this type of box and be in my life, or you won't be in each other's lives. And for you, you just set a boundary because it's like, no, I love this person, so I do want to see this person. But how can I explore this relationship? How can we? How does it? How can we make this look different in a way that fits both of us? How can we be in relationship with each other in a way that honors us both? I love that. I think that's a question that most people don't ask.
No.
They just won't be in relationships.
Right. Well, we had a conversation about it too. We talked about it,
Hmm.
and I told her, and she knew it. She knows how I am, you
Yeah.
know. Like I've always been like that.
Yeah.
I just don't like a lot of clutter And if I see clutter, it's
Gotta
kind
clean
of,
it.
girl, look,
No, that's
or I
right.
gotta go.
Has she been that way her whole life? Your whole life?
Yes,
That's why you probably don't like clutter.
yes, girl.
Why?
Oh my God,
You
like
grew up with it.
it
Yeah.
would, it would, it would drive me nuts
Yeah.
because I was like that. I
Yep.
ended up being like that,
Yep.
for a long time
Hmm.
until I had my own place where I could be the way I wanted it to be, you
Hmm.
know. But when I was there, when I was a kid, I was just like that.
Yep.
It drive me nuts. And I'm like, dude, I can't have it. But that's a good example of how we sometimes put people, places, and things in boxes, and then don't explore the possibility of what kind of relationship we can have with them. And have it be an unconditional, love that we have because at that point there's no conditions. We had a conversation, we worked it out. She understood how I was. I understood how she was. I wasn't trying to come to her house and
And
try
change
and
her and her
change
space.
her stuff.
Mhm.
And she respected the fact that I don't like clutter. You know what I mean? And so but those conversations are hard to have with people because I know for myself, I would say things to myself like, oh, that person won't be able to handle what I have to say. I used to say that all the time with that. I would say it. And people can handle it, they know though. That's the thing. That kind of
They
understand.
know.
They already know.
They
They
know.
already know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're not bringing something new to the table. And if you are, and if they get upset, well, fuck them. You
Yep.
know,
Because that's really all it
fuck them. Keep on
there's,
moving.
there's no other way around it.
Girl, look.
Okay, so we're at an hour.
I know. It just,
Because
we
I
went
feel
on
like
a
this is a
tangent.
good topic. I feel like that's a good topic to continue. Like
Yes.
once you are once you remember your worthiness, like when you get to that place, what happens next? And I think it's these things, and you start to figure out what are my boundaries, like what am I willing to negotiate, and what am I not? My non-negotiables. Oh my God, maybe we should talk about non-negotiables next week.
Yes. Oh my God, that sounds good.
Yes, because that's what it makes me think about.
Yeah, we should play that. I don't know if you've seen that dating video on
Which one?
online with this woman. She goes on a date and this dude does. It's just really funny.
Oh,
He
and she
does.
just walk
She
away.
just gets.
Let's do it. The fire. I see a little
I
fire.
saw that shit. I was like, you know what it reminded me of? All of the times that I didn't get up and I should have gotten up because what transpired over the next month or years of that relationship would have been it would have been null and void if I just that first time just said, you know what, I'm
That
done.
part. I'm just gonna get up. Open check the door. You ain't got battery.
Girl, man.
Well,
Okay, so there's
let's do that.
one last thing.
Okay.
Okay, so there's one other question in here that I think is an important part of um, planting seeds of worthiness, reclaiming joy, abundance, and rest.
Mm-hmm.
So, so, and I said it briefly about um, about feeling guilty a little bit of not resting, right? Like or feeling guilty because feeling a little guilty because I am resting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I should be doing something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So releasing that guilt around rest,
Mm-hmm.
especially for women, especially for Black women, Black
Mm.
mothers, especially, you know,
Back to that conditioning.
it's a real thing to have rest and relaxation and self-care be the center focus of
Mm-hmm.
who I am and before I can do anything else is like having that
Yeah.
as a foundation for me so I can actually do the work that I'm
Yeah.
doing. And so many women, especially, and not, I'm sure it happens for everybody, but for women especially, we have a tendency to take care of others before ourselves. Um, and so, what does that look like for you to release that guilt
You
around?
know, I love that you said that because what I kept telling myself as I was sending those emails with, for this contract was there's a still inner dialogue. I know what I need to do. I know what the right thing to do is, but it's gonna hurt me a little bit if you don't go the right way. I would like for it to go. But one thing I had to remind myself was, and I know this to be true, I know that doing the right thing doesn't always feel good. And that's literally what I had to keep telling myself when I sent these emails because it felt like a whole, like, am I tripping? And so even just with anything, like I always remind myself that doing the right thing doesn't always feel good. I know that. I know it. That's why people don't do the right thing. So, and especially when it comes to yourself, doing right by yourself. Yeah, it probably you would feel guilty your whole life doing for others, and then you're a mother, and so you're for your kids, and then you work, and so it's like when you're used to juggling those things, then you don't feel rest into it from the very beginning. And trying to rest is like, what am I not doing? What should I be doing right now? You know what I mean? Yeah, that's just you're shifting like that. It's hard to do, but you got to remember that doing the right thing sometimes can feel hard. It doesn't always feel good.
Yeah.
and that's myself. I think I heard that from Erica. I love
Mm,
her. You know,
yeah.
her, but it doesn't always feel good. And that's
Yeah.
what I tell myself when I'm getting ready to do something that I know is right, but it feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've been that goes back to that conditioning thing about everything has to feel good, and it
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily feel good. Especially,
Yeah.
I like to use exercise as an analogy. We all know that exercise is good for us, right? But it
Mhm.
doesn't, it's not
Well,
fun.
feel good.
It's
No.
not. It can be fun if you make it fun, but there'll be moments where it's not fun. Getting up
Mhm.
early in the morning
Mhm.
and you have a regimen or a routine. You know, let me tell you, not every day you're gonna want to get up and do that
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
And but yeah, I agree. Like you know, releasing guilt. I felt it for a moment. Like it popped in. It was like I should be doing something right now. And I was just like, wait a minute. I said, you need to go sit your behind back down and go take a nap.
Go
Now
take
you
a.
need to take a
That's
nap.
what you should be doing. Sleeping. Yes.
You need to take a nap. Just because you said that, you need to take a nap.
Yes.
So that's what I do. Like I notice, like when those things come up, it I automatically like stop it right then and there, and I
Yep.
make a correction, right? Because being a high value human being, you know, I'm bringing high value to everything that I do.
Yeah, everything.
That this high value human needs rest, and I need a lot more. Once I found out how many hours women supposed to sleep, we supposed to be sleeping like 9 hours, 10 hours
Regularly.
every
Daily.
day.
Yes. Daily.
And I was like, 10 hours,
And we couldn't even imagine that.
10 hours of sleep in one
Why?
sitting.
We couldn't even imagine that. Yeah.
And when I read it, I was like, I'll be good if I get 7. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But I wake up in the middle of the night, like I figured out a way to get back to sleep, which is good. But there are a couple of nights. There's been some nights where I just could not, go back to sleep. But yeah, so that was it. That was the last question I
I
had.
love that though. And this is
That was the last
why I
question.
love these things every Monday because it just I love it. It gets my mind.
Yeah, it does. You know what it gets me to do? It gets me to like first of all, like be in the thing that I love.
Yep.
Like, I absolutely, and those people who know I love to be in communication. Just love to be in conversation with people.
Yeah.
Like as when I was a little kid, I love that shit. You know. Um, the only thing is, I really have when I do a lot of peopling, I gotta have a lot of time to me. That's the only thing. Like I've noticed, like if I do a lot of, like even today, like this is the only thing I could do today. I can't do anything else.
Yes.
Just because it's a lot to just
Right.
share, be on here, talk, and the whole nine. It's a lot. So,
Okay,
so
let's
yeah.
do our reflection. So let's
Okay, yeah,
not
yeah.
landed yet. So what do we our takeaways from the conversation today?
Um, to release guilt, to release guilt, when when it shows up when I, questioning me resting, um, reconnecting to myself to remember who I am and my value, what I bring, and how that I am worthy automatically just because I'm here. I'm a miracle. Um,
Mhm.
um, doing that daily, creating some sort of routine. I already do that already, but continuing to have that as a part of my, you know, daily routine. Um, yeah, just that, like this, I've created this life for myself that I'm stepping into. So just doing the things that I love to do, you know. And for those other things that I don't like to do, I can find somebody else to do it, or, you know, there's so many other ways to do it. I can ask a question, ask people around me to see if there are
Yeah.
other ways. Just being open to the possibility of what those things could look like, and not, not putting, you know, all types of barriers around. But boundaries are important with
Yeah.
people in relationships. So yeah, I mean, girl, I always get something from these conversations. I got a lot today,
Yeah.
but just like, making sure that like creating that structure for myself to continue to step in that, you know, rest and joy and love and all of those things are the foundation of everything that I do,
Hmm.
so that circumstances, don't matter, you
Yep.
know. All that matters is my, what I'm creating, that intention that I'm creating.
Yep.
That's all that
That's it. I love it. I think for me, you always remind me that we're all working on our own path. I know this, but in real life, I forget it because then you do feel like you want to fix. But just one, my takeaway is just what you said, like we're worthy, but not everybody knows it, and not everybody might not. Some people may never get to that. And just remembering that you just allow people to pick who they are. You've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, or you always say it, but I just always have to remind myself it's okay to let people be who they are. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that they're bad or anything you to try to fix or anything. Just let people be who they are and where they are, in life. And when they're ready, for me, all I have to do is keep being who I am. And I think through modeling what it looks like to really know that you're worthy, that'll do what it needs to do for anybody else. You know what I mean? You don't have to use your words for this. It's just you be it. You show up that way, and it'll reach who it's supposed to reach just from you being yourself. And so I always I don't have to go too crazy on words
matters. Oh yeah.
because my actions will always speak.
Yeah. Everyone's on a different like level of consciousness.
Yeah.
Everyone's at some people get it, some people don't. And yeah, you're right. That's something that I have to remind myself all the time. All the time.
Man, what is
All the time, man. It is because you see their greatness. You see them for who they, who they
there?
really are. And,
Yeah.
they just don't see it yet.
Yep. Okay, so with that being said, I am going to continue my time on this campus.
Yes.
I'm gonna go eat campus lunch because I love their lunches here. I'm gonna go to their decaf and be a student today. I love that.
Oh,
There it is
yeah,
in
girl.
the room. But he attended the brunch as well. And it was impactful. We can continue this conversation with the staff and just see how we can continue making the best out of each day in this time.
Yes.
So I'm excited for this. This was
Yes, absolutely.
good.
Girl, I'm so excited. So next week we're going to talk about
Negotiable.
non-negotiable in relationships in general.
Across the board. Maybe how do they intersect? How do they cross? Do they cross? Like for what do you make? In which cases do you make like those exceptions? Because that's a non-negotiable to. I don't know. So now it's gonna make me think all week about this because I don't know if I can just outline them. I feel like they just come to me when the situation happens. And I'm like, you got me messed up. But I think it could be helpful to know my non-negotiables and perhaps show up like I do, so I don't get to that point of you got me messed up. Because a lot of the time when I think that, I'm like, why would somebody think that they could do that? And then I look at how I carry myself, and I really do. And like low key and real, so you really don't know what you're gonna get to with me. And so it's like maybe I can do a better job of like defining it for myself, not because I need to communicate it to people right away. Perhaps if I knew what those were for sure, I would not end up in many. I think some people will still try it, but in many situations where it's like, oh, you got me messed up. Why would you think that? Because then I'll think back like, oh, that's
Right, right, exactly.
so,
Yeah, so it's just being clear, but I like what you said about defining them. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Like I think I know for myself and I'm gonna do some like really looking this week and asking myself some
Yeah.
questions around it because like what I am seeing just by you sharing that is that I have in the past purposefully
Mm.
purposefully have been vague. Like
Hmm.
I've been vague and not being clear, right?
Mm.
Because then I can and this is in my past. I don't do this anymore, y'all. I'm not this person, right? But I used to manipulate. It's a great way to manipulate people
Because
and
they understand.
manipulate situations by not being clear.
Yeah.
So, I don't do that anymore, but I used to. And I've noticed sometimes
Oh, I
it
can't
does
wait
show
to
up.
talk more about that. I want to
Yeah.
hear. Because I feel like when you say that, I feel like when I hear you say that, that used to be a strategy for me as well, like a real strategy. And now it's not. I don't think that it's a strategy that will work for where I'm going because people need to know, like who I am. Off the
Right.
bat, like pivoting from that because I think I
Right.
invited. So I just naturally walk
Right.
in just chilling because I want to know
Right.
what you know and not
Right.
necessarily, you know, give a whole lot of me. But now the spaces are requiring me to be a little different. So my
Yeah.
non-negotiable is gonna have to be clear.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my God.
Sheesh,
It's gonna be
I
great.
love it. This is gonna be
I love
good.
it.
Okay.
I love it. Okay, so next week, non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables, and I love
This
that we
week was great.
talk about it. Yeah.
Yes. All right, girl.
Okay. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Have a great day.
See you.
All right. Bye.